Live from the BDN Studios, it's Bang and Dang.
That's awesome.
If you don't like that, then
You ain't black.
Welcome back to Outlaws and Gunslingers, and we are continuing on the Prohibition Trail. We are on the rum trail, the rum running trail, if you will. This time, we're going to switch it up.
Sorry.
Switch it up. No criminal here, but
Oh,
this guy's going to bring down one of the most famous Prohibition criminals there is. Everybody knows who this guy is. If it's not, probably the only reason why they know of him is from bringing down, yes, Al Capone. It's the one and only Eliot Ness, leader of the Untouchables, the unbribable officer. He's not getting under anybody's payroll, but the FBI or the CIA or the. It's not the FBI.
Is the movie Untouchables top 5 in your all-time movie list?
No.
I was going to
not
say.
even-
A lot of people would be like, what are you talking about?
It's literally not even
Top 5. Not even top 10.
Literally not even the top 20.
Untouchables.
All-time best movies ever. No. No.
If you want to go with like mob and crime movies, it's top 20 for sure.
Well, obviously, it's got to be.
But all-time movies?
If it doesn't make your top 20 in mafia or crime type fucking
Well, what you
movies,
said,
then-
though, is maybe not even make a top 10 in a mafia or crime movie.
Well, no, because this isn't a mafia guy.
Right. But a crime movie, you know what I mean? Nonetheless.
Well, because the top 10 is going to be dominated by all three Godfathers.
Not the third Godfather ain't going to be in the top 10.
It's still been in the top 15.
In top
Either
15
or.
for sure.
Number one, number two.
You're gonna have,
then you're going to have Casino. Then you're going to have...
what's it called?
Why can I not think of the best movie, the best
Goodfellas.
mafia? Yeah, Goodfellas. Then you're gonna have The Departed in there.
Departed.
Then you're gonna have
Donnie Brasco.
Donnie Brasco. You're gonna have
They Call Me Whitey Bulger or some shit. That just came out a few years back with Johnny Depp. That was good.
well, it was just Whitey, I think, or
I think it was
Bulger,
called
one of the
Whitey or
one of the
Bulger.
two.
That was good. That's top 10 all day right there.
I don't know about top 10. Even The Irishman.
The Irishman.
That's there. That's what else?
Carlito's
Way. American
Me.
Once Upon a Time in America.
American Gangster was good. With,
American Gangster.
Denzel Washington.
With Denzel is
but I don't
good,
know if
too.
that's top 10. Maybe.
It's a good one. I mean, you got all sorts of shit that's
Training Day, you got to put that in that because that's like a mafia.
That's not mafia.
Yeah,
There's
is.
no mafia in there.
Basically, you got all these
you're in
cops.
L.A. with the
It's the cops.
Latin gangs and shit,
Well,
man.
it's the cops that are in mafia.
No,
Yeah.
it's not a mafia movie.
Basically.
It's a criminal movie,
Right.
yes, but not a mafia movie. I thought we were,
No, if
I
you
thought we
wanna-
were saying mafia
If
movie.
you want, why can't you call the police organization a mafia? Because these motherfuckers, they stick together.
Well, what, you want to defund them?
No.
Defund the police?
Never said I wanted to fund them, but police are like that. Not all, but
No.
you know,
Only,
they're like the mafia in the police.
only Alonzo was.
Not only his crew and fucking 25 other people,
He's Lonzo. What you give him?
25 other people ahead of him.
No, I think I know what it is. No, let the kid talk, Alonzo.
Right.
I think that means when you get on the streets, you don't really know what the streets are. What? He's talking about the story of the snail.
Right.
Then comes back and he's like, what the fuck's your problem?
That white guy, what's his name? What was his name?
The old guy, what the fuck was his name? I don't know. They blow his fucking chest in, though. Take his money under his...
Can I have some of that
Kitchen.
good shit? Fuck it. Might as well. He's like, man, you guys better pay for that. He's like, don't worry. The city got you covered.
Like, don't worry. You'll pay for it
All right.
with your life. Yeah, now that we sidetracked, Eliot Ness. Like I said, a lot of people probably know about this guy just specifically and only for being on the task force that brought down Al Capone. But believe it or not, he had a career after that. And
Did he?
What
Had
a-
a career after that?
what a sad life this guy's life actually ended up being, which happens with a lot of the gangsters and lawmen and everybody else in the first 20 or so Wild West episodes. This is kind of like a Wild West type story with Eliot Ness because he started on top, got on top, and then pretty much died penniless and spoiler alert, died penniless and alone and just
Right.
just the laughing stock pretty much.
Well,
But-
did he, though? Was he a laughing stock?
Well, we'll see.
Did the stuff that he accomplished throughout his life.
Well, no, he'll always be known for bringing down Al Capone, but
Willie.
it didn't get him too far in his actual life. Like a lot of the Wild West people, it's the stuff that he didn't really get appreciated until long after he died.
Long after.
It might have got appreciated in the moment, but it was quickly forgotten.
Well, that usually happens. Then when the Prohibition era and all that started getting popular with historians and shit, then you start digging and digging and digging and digging, and that's when all the good stuff comes out. And I still don't believe we're done yet because there's so much digging to do from the 20s on up. Oh my goodness.
The thing is,
organized crime, and it's
thing
everywhere.
Is, to get
like we're talking about the police with Training Day.
The thing is to get an episode of this on one person, like this Eliot Ness one, for example, just like the Bill McCoy one previously, it's probably only going to be about 30 or so minutes because it's not like a Wyatt Earp or Al Capone or a Lucky Luciano where there's just documented upon documented shit. There's just what you know. And it's not that it doesn't go in depth a lot of like in between about the most famous stuff that happened.
They got 130 years 130 years of research.
Well, you can go on any website right now and you'll read about Eliot Ness's life in it's a less than 5-minute read, I guarantee. So we're gonna turn it somehow probably into about a half hour.
Less than 3-minute read probably.
Yeah, and that's the thing though. A lot of these there's tons, there's hundreds upon hundreds of lesser known. Even in the Wild West, we could have done 100 episodes. Some of them could have been only 10 minutes long because literally that's all you're gonna know about the person. But we could have profiled 100 different fucking people in the Wild West. But I mean, it's not worth it. I'm not gonna fucking sit down just to do a 10-minute episode. This is dumb.
Well, we might do like a 10-minute or a 30-minute episode of 15 people.
That's too much info.
Nobody
knows. Nobody's gonna remember the first person that we talked about.
Like
What's the point?
This era in Wild West history, it'd be like sports history.
Or we can just be like, hey, go look up all the other hundreds of people that were in this era.
One of these episodes, we'll just name off a bunch of names. Look these sons of bitches up.
Right.
Sounds better.
Well, nevertheless, on this episode, we're covering Eliot Ness. Nevertheless, we're with Eliot Ness.
Eliot Ness, nevertheless.
This dude was born on April 19, 1903 in the Kensington neighborhood of Chicago, Illinois. And
Chicago boys.
He'll make his name there. He was the youngest of 5 children born to Peter Ness, who lived from 1850 to 1931. Okay. 81 years old. And Emma King from 1863 to 1937.
Youngin'.
Nice long lives.
Yeah.
60.
Youngin'.
His parents were both Norwegian immigrants. They operated a bakery as well. Ness went to Christian Fenger High School in Chicago and the University of Chicago, which he graduated in 1925 with a degree in political science and business administration, and was a member of the Sigma Alpha Epsilon.
The political science is for something else, but the business administration, that's definitely
political science is a worthless degree.
Right.
Well, he began his career as an investigator for the Retail Credit Company of Atlanta, assigned to the Chicago territory, where he conducted background investigations for the purpose of credit information.
Right.
So he's just like, what's this guy's credit background? Like, are we going to loan to this guy? What's going on here? Well, in 1929, he returned to the university to take a graduate course in criminology, which was taught by August Vollmer, a noted police performer and chief of the Berkeley Police Department. Vollmer's ideas about professionalizing law enforcement would influence Ness throughout his career. Which,
so this guy came in. He was like, I don't know what I really want to do. So I'm going to take this class. Just so happens to be taught by a guy who's like, I'm not going to lie to you. Our police force is kind of funky, Rand. You know,
I think
it could be changed.
I think law all over the land, every police force at this time in America was just.
Right.
They were just, it was kind of like a rogue business.
Flawed.
Cops were going on their own list. Nothing was enforced within the bureau or within the precinct or within the agency or whatever. And this guy, Vollmer, apparently, we need to be professionals.
Right. So he's like, I'm going to teach a school for the next guys coming up. Hopefully these guys.
And we'll see that Ness takes that to heart.
Well, Ness's brother-in-law, Alexander Jamie. I hate it when a guy
with 2 first names.
I was going to say the same thing. Alexander Jamie, an agent of the Bureau Investigation, which became the FBI in 1935, influenced Ness to enter the law enforcement. He was like, buddy, I'm telling you right now, good living, and you can do what the fuck you want. Come on.
Or it could have went the other way. Hey, buddy, you want to really make a change in this world? And
right, his brother-in-law, yeah, he's right. Come on, man. You just keep on talking about it. Once you join the force, you can do it, bud.
Right.
And he's like, really? He's like, you can do it, man. You're tougher than half those guys out there. He's like, really? And his wife's like, yeah, babe. Do it.
Your name's Eliot with one T.
With one T. And you got a weird last name.
Hey, what you talking about, homie? You got 2 first names.
Right. Well, anyway.
Alexander Jamie.
Whatever,
Eliot Ness.
Get out of my house. Ness joined the United States Treasury Department in 1926, working with 1,000-strong Bureau of Prohibition in Chicago.
Oh.
March 30th. No, it's not March 30th. It's March 19th.
Could have been March 30th. You don't know.
March 1930. Attorney Frank J. Loesch, Loesch, if I said it wrong, of the Chicago Crime Commission, asked President Herbert Hoover to take down, you guessed it, Al Capone. They're like, we got to take this sumbitch down, Mr. President.
He's like, look.
Right.
Al Capone is running Chicago. He's got the mayors. He's got the police. He's got everybody in the city pretty much
from
working
Chicago
for him.
to New York. That strip. Right there.
Al?
Yeah.
And he's working towards
the West.
in Indiana, in the Midwest, all over, man.
I'm
Al
sure.
Capone just controlled everything. We did an episode on him. You remember?
Fucking nuts.
Hot Springs.
Right. Well, agents of the Bureau of Internal Revenue working under
the IRS.
Working under Elmer Irey, Irey.
IRA?
And Special Agent Frank J. Wilson of the Intelligence Unit. So we got a bunch of intelligent motherfuckers up on this bitch.
One of them's with a unit.
Right. And they were like, dude, we're already investigating Capone, bud, and his associates. They're like, what are you investigating for? Income tax evasion.
They're like,
it's like, dude, that's the only way we're going to get this guy. You can go ahead and waste months and months and months of surveillance and following around and gathering evidence, but the only way to get this guy is through taxes.
yeah, because I don't think RICO was invented yet, so you
Nope.
couldn't get him on
Couldn't get him on
RICO. So
only way to get the guy is
was
tax
the only way.
evasion.
Well, in late 1930, Attorney General William D. Mitchell, who was seeking a faster end to the case, implemented a plan devised by President Hoover for sending a small team prohibition agents
Kind of like the
working
Pinkertons back in the day.
pretty much, right? Yeah, President Hoover sent a small team of prohibition agents working under a special United States attorney to target the illegal breweries and supply routes of Capone while gathering evidence of conspiracy to violate the National Prohibition Act, which we all know is the Volstead Act. Well, U.S. Attorney George E.Q. Johnson, the Chicago prosecutor directly in charge of both the prohibition and income tax investigations of Capone, chose a 27-year-old Ness, who was now assigned to the Justice Department to lead this small squad, which we'll find out right now what they were called.
This guy had to been, Eliot Ness had been highly recommended by high officers.
His stepbrother was in the FBI.
Right.
So
Ness knew that there was corruption in Chicago's law enforcement agents. And he was like, I need to go through every record of all the prohibition agents to create a reliable team. And you know what we're going to call them, guys? They're like, what are we going to call them, Ness? The Untouchables.
He's like, I want to know every single record of every single agent that you guys have on your staff. I want to know if they've even been somebody turned a stink eye to them and possibly being dirty. Because I ain't having none of those guys on my team. Ain't nobody on my team going to take a bribe. Ain't nobody on my team going to be susceptible to any type of fucking illegal activity at all. We got one goal and one goal only.
Take down this sumbitch. We got to get him. That list complied to about 6 at first, but eventually grew to about 10. And I said it earlier, you know them as the Untouchables, the movie Untouchables. Kevin Costner and who else was in it?
Robert De Niro.
Okay, there you go. Raids against illegal stills and breweries began in March 1931. Within 6 months, Eliot Ness's agents had destroyed bootlegging operations worth an estimated $500,000.
A lot of money in the 30s.
Right, and representing an additional $2 million in lost income for Al Capone.
So, alone.
This guy is like, oh, hell no. These sons of bitches. Their raids would ultimately cost... Ultimately cost Their raids would ultimately cost Capone in excess of $9 million in revenue. It was probably about 12. Seriously.
Which begs the question, why didn't Capone put a hit out on any of these fucking sons of bitches?
Right.
This cost him $9 million and he just let it go?
No, because it was done by the president. This was federal shit now. You just ain't no small time boys.
Yeah, but
this is like the other side of the Al Capone story. We should have ran this the next episode.
Well, the main source of information for the raids was an extensive wiretapping operation. Failed attempts by members of the Chicago outfit to bribe or intimidate Ness and his agents, like I've been saying, inspired Charles Schwartz of the Chicago Daily News to begin calling them Untouchables.
We just fucking said that.
Well, now we know where the name came from.
Right.
George Johnson adopted the nickname and promoted it to the press, establishing it as the squad's unofficial title.
Ooh-wee.
The Untouchables strike again.
Right, the Untouchables.
They raided us still, and
they're on the case.
60 barrels of whiskey was emptied into the city's drains.
Right. They got a picture of them standing next to a bunch of boxes of whiskey and wine and shit.
Right. Beer.
Right. The efforts of Eliot and his team inflicted major financial damage on Al.
And his operations.
And led to his indictment on 5,000 violations of the Volstead Act in June of 1931. Well,
he sure did. But guess what the judge said? He said, we don't want him on the Volstead Act.
Right. Federal Judge James H. Wilkerson prevented that indictment from coming to trial. He's like, no. He's like, dude, guys, slow down.
No.
Just
he didn't say that at all.
Down.
He didn't say that at all.
Slow down.
He said, yeah, slow down.
This.
We got something else we want to do.
Check this out, guys.
Right.
Instead of getting them on those charges, which ain't going to do anything, we got this tax evasion case built by George Johnson and Frank Wilson. You guys remember George Johnson and Frank Wilson? October 17th, 1931, Al Capone.
He was.
Al Capone was convicted on 3 of 22 counts of tax evasions. He was sentenced to 11 years in prison.
And?
Following a failed appeal, began his sentence in 1932.
Yeah, we all know what happened to him.
Right. 3rd of May, 1932, Eliot Ness was among the federal agents who took Capone from the Cook County Jail to Dearborn Station, where he boarded the Dixie Flyer to Atlanta Federal Penitentiary. The only time both men are known to have ever met in person. Ain't that some crazy shit? It's like, dude, I took you down. And Al Capone was like, you took me down? He was like, not really. Those guys did. George and, what was his name?
George and Frank did.
George and Frank took you down.
Took you down.
But I'm getting credit for this shit.
But, I mean, he did, because his investigations of what Capone was doing proved that Capone was...
basically, his investigations were able to take the other investigations to court for the tax evasion.
Ness's investigations proved that Capone was earning this absurd amount of money and clearly not being paid into taxes.
Right.
So that's what spurred the tax evasion conviction.
I don't understand.
So
why do these motherfuckers never pay their damn taxes? I mean,
you can't pay taxes on illegal money.
You can still pay taxes on. They had speakeasies and shit.
Yeah, but
come on,
your speakeasies, they got books, and then your books on the speakeasy ain't earning no $9 million a year.
I know it's true. That's why they need to be more quiet with their money.
Well, that's when money laundering and all that good shit comes into play later on when we take a look at the mob, where they could have had all that money sophisticated like that.
They could have had all that money, no one would have known. Don't go out and spend thousands of dollars.
If you remember Al Capone's episode that we did, he was spending money on cars, houses, all this shit, which they looked at the books of his legal businesses and said, hey, this don't add up. How's this guy affording this stuff? So
you can do it, but you just got to keep it back.
Of course, you can funnel money through and falsify shit, but apparently Al Capone didn't. I'm sure. I'm sure that Al Capone's case was a stepping stone into other organized criminal organizations saying, "Hey, you remember how Capone got busted? Why don't we funnel this money, launder it? Clearly how they did in Breaking Bad, laundered his money through the car wash."
Yeah, but still, there was millions and millions where he couldn't.
Yeah, I know. They Bill Burr and the other black guy laid on it. It was a fucking It's crazy.
It's like, what are you gonna do?
Crazy.
I mean, but still.
Clearly Capone didn't have a way of making his money legal.
Easily. He could have easily said he had
Clearly
more.
he didn't, because he fucking got brought down on tax evasion,
Right.
didn't he?
He could have easily put in more work than what was recorded on his books. Not that hard. Print up receipts.
Yeah, that would.
You just pay somebody standing at a
but that
cash
would have
register.
to, if you're
You pay somebody.
if you're
for-
running a
all right.
business, like a legit business that you're buying stuff from, you'd have to falsify the product you're buying. I mean, come on, that's a paper trail leading to fraud that can easily.
That's true, because all that stuff you're gonna be like, all right, where's the?
I paid.
Well, where's the invoices?
$60,000 a week in. Let's say he owns 5 restaurants. I paid $60,000 a week in food costs.
Right.
Where's the
invoices?
fucking receipts from the food company?
food
you know,
costs, right.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
Well, you can do that and then just hand it out to the people.
to the people. Who's the people?
Anybody. Just hand it out to people.
They could still go to the food company's records.
Yeah.
They're not going to record him buying $60,000.
Of course they are.
How are they?
Because you order it.
What are you going to do with the food? The object here is to save your money, not spend money unnecessarily.
No, you sell it in your restaurant, and
Doesn't make any sense. You're buying $60,000 worth of food just to funnel $60,000 of illegal money.
No, you buy it.
That's dumb.
Because you can make more money off the food too. You serve what you need in your restaurant, and then plus you funnel out the rest to others all the time.
That's stupid.
It's not stupid.
That's dumb.
It's not.
Clearly, it's dumb.
Mm-mm.
Well, in 1932, Ness was promoted to chief investigator of the Prohibition Bureau for Chicago. Following the end of Prohibition in 1933, he was reassigned as an alcohol tax agent in the Moonshine Mountains of southern Ohio, Kentucky, and Tennessee.
Damn right.
And in 1934, he was transferred to Cleveland, Ohio.
Well, gotta go with shitty Cleveland.
Well, in December 1935, Cleveland Mayor Harold H. Burton hired Ness as the city's safety director, which put him in charge of both the police and fire departments.
All right.
Oh, look at this guy running the whole town safety safety organizations,
in Cleveland.
Cleveland, city of lights.
Eliot Ness soon began a groundbreaking reform program inspired by the ideas of August Vollmer.
Remember what I told you guys that August Vollmer's ideas of professionalizing the police come to Ness? Oh, here it is.
Which focus on professionalizing and modernizing the police department, stopping juvenile delinquency, and improving traffic safety.
He could have done that.
He declared war on the mob,
Uh-oh.
and his primary targets included Big Angelo Leonardo.
Well, we'll have something on him since his name's highlighted.
Little Angelo Scura.
We won't have nothing on him.
Mo Delitz.
We might have something on him.
John Angarola.
No.
George Angarosola.
Oh.
And Charles Paluzzi.
Palizzi.
Charles Palizzi and George Angarola.
Well, Ness was also safety director at the time of several grisly murders that occurred in the Cleveland area from 1935 to 1938, which those grisly murders are known as the Cleveland Torso Murders.
Right. Everybody knows that.
So you guys can go look up the Cleveland Torso Murders. Obviously, it sounds exactly how it is. Imagine you guys know the Black Dahlia case from Hollywood where her torso was found on the lawn. It's pretty much the same gist of this. They think they're actually connected. Just torsos turning up all over the place.
Right.
But anyways, he was the safety director at the time of those murders. From 1935 to 38, though he had oversight of the police department, he was only peripherally involved in the investigation, so he never actively investigated him. He was the one who interrogated one of the prime suspects, though, who was Dr. Francis E. Sweeney, and he used a polygraph test. At one point in time, 2 bodies of victims of the serial killer were placed within view of his office window either. So whoever the fucking killer was like, I know who you are, Eliot Ness, and I'm going to put these victims right here next to your office window.
Right.
And you ain't going to catch me.
Right. Man, that's some crazy
I think they were caught. You got to go look up that story by yourself. This isn't a serial killer podcast.
Not yet. 1938. Eliot Ness and his wife Edna.
You sound like Corey in the early days of Lee and Corey.
How?
Not yet.
All right.
Not I kill you.
What was that? What was that, Corey? Nothing.
What are you saying? Frog in my throat.
What are you saying? Go ahead. Well, anyway, in 1938.
If you guys don't know what we're talking about, go check out our other podcast besides the Mountain Michiganders, Lee and Corey on the Case, where we're 2 private investigators. Lee Lee Danker and Corey Sponnet, where we go on crazy private investigator cases and all sorts of shenanigans, improv. We're just improvising and doing what we think is funny. So if you guys, Lee and Corey on the case, go look that up.
Right, 1938, Eliot Ness and his wife Edna divorced.
Oh no!
His otherwise remarkably successful
Remember I told you guys this was going to be a downward spiral?
Right. His otherwise remarkably successful career in Cleveland withered gradually.
Oh, there it is.
Sort of like slowly went away.
There it is. It was like a flower in the sun.
He especially fell out of favor. Right. He especially fell out of favor after he had the city's large shanty towns evacuated and burned during the Cleveland torso murders.
Yeah.
Cleveland critics targeted his divorce. He was like, this dude, it's crazy. His wife don't even want him.
He can't even keep a relationship.
His high-profile social drinking.
He was a fucking drunk.
Look at him, guy.
He's like the stereotypical 50s detective in the movies. He's just fucking drunk and, like, he got to redeem himself.
Not only that, did you see?
Isn't the detective or the cop guy in Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Isn't he like a drunk fucking type dude?
Right.
Yeah.
He's like a
He's
Dick
like
Tracy.
that guy.
He's like a Dick Tracy guy. Or Archer.
I don't know who Archer is.
You never watched
Isn't that a cartoon on FX or something?
Yeah,
I've never watched it.
You should watch it. It's fucking fantastic, dude. I'm telling you. We're going to watch a little clip here in a minute.
Yeah, we're not.
You're going to like it.
Well, we're not.
Where are we at here?
He's a social drinker.
Oh, they're pissed off that he was a social drinker. And
high profile.
And that high-profile social drinking led to a terrible, terrible, terrible scene at a car accident one night when he was driving drunk. He was just a belligerent piece of shit.
Well, it wasn't terrible because when you go on to the next part of it.
No, for his behavior.
Well, for his reputation, right.
Right. Although there were no victims in this accident, Eliot, fearful that he might lose his job, tried to get the accident covered up. Right. I mean, it's just terrible. Later on, his involvement in the accident was revealed by a local newspaper and calls for his resignation increased. However, Burton's successor as mayor, Frank Lausche, Lausche, kept Ness on.
He was like, he's a good guy.
He's a
good guy. I mean, everybody makes mistakes. He just got divorced.
Hey, the Eliot Ness, he's a nice guy.
He's a nice guy. He just got divorced. I mean, it's sad. It's sad stuff. It's sad stuff.
But he's really a good guy. I mean, he's great.
He's great. He's a great guy. It's great people on both sides. In 1939, Ness married. He wasn't out of
action that long, right?
He didn't have no lads between the vads,
right.
As they say. 1939.
He was pumping. He was pumping on.
Ness married illustrator Eveline Michelau. Michelau in 1942. The Nesses moved to Washington D.C., where he worked for the federal government.
Okay.
He directed the battle against prostitution in communities surrounding military bases where venereal disease was a serious problem. Right. That is, if you look up, you do a little more research on prostitution around military bases, and especially in the time during World War II when they're training and all that stuff.
World War II, all that Vietnam.
They had a big problem of getting diseases on their soldiers from prostitutes and shit, and some even deliberately from the enemy were sending chicks with fucking diseases out to infect the soldiers and shit.
Just like the pot in Vietnam.
Right. That's a big thing. You guys look up diseases and the prostitutions around military bases back in the day. That's another podcast. Later, he made a number of forays into the corporate world, all of which failed owing to his lack of business acumen. He didn't have no business acumen. He's just he's like, I can investigate. That's it. I can't type $2.99 on the cash register.
What's the sales tax in this?
Right.
Well, I don't get it.
Well, in 1944, he left to become chairman of the Diebold Corporation, a security safe company based in Ohio.
After a second divorce and third marriage.
Oh, no, dude. What are you doing?
He ran unsuccessfully for mayor of Cleveland in 1947.
Uh-oh.
After which he left Diebold in 1951. In the aftermath, Eliot Ness was forced into taking various odd jobs to earn a living.
And he just keeps going down the cliff further and further.
He went to a bookstore. He wanted to be a clerk at a bookstore. We didn't want to be, but
well, he didn't want to be, but I mean, he had to be.
He's like, this is freaking boring. I gotta get out of here. Like, well, the electronics store.
Like, what else you want to do, Eliot?
All right, you can be a wholesaler at the electronics parts store. All right.
Yeah, I'm tired of selling stoves. Why don't I sell something that gets cooked on them?
Right. Hey, man, you see me selling those stoves? Well, check out these frozen hamburger patties.
They go great together.
Right.
Or you buy this
Your
stove.
stove sucks and your burger's rotten.
You buy this stove, you get 10 free hamburger patties. Frozen,
Yeah,
of
right.
course.
Psh, and they splash water in his face.
Why would he do that?
Because the stove quit working and the hamburger patties were rotten.
Oh, right. Right. I got all my family sick. We had the shits for 2 days.
You son of a bitch.
Asshole.
By 1956, he came to work for a startup company called Guaranteed Paper Corporation, which claimed to have a new method of water making legal.
Watermarking legal.
Right. Which claimed to have a new method of watermarking legal and official documents to prevent counterfeiting. He was like, check this shit out, guys.
Little known fact, Guaranteed Paper Company or Corporation was the predecessor to Dunder Mifflin in Stanford, Connecticut.
Was it?
Stanton, Connecticut.
Was it really? It's Scranton.
Scranton, yeah.
That's
No,
Joe
the
Biden's-
Scranton branch is the other one. This is
Scranton.
no, Scranton is the other branch. The other Dunder Mifflin with Michael Scott in them is in the
Scranton.
is in
It's in
it's
I think it's in Scranton.
Stanford or
No, it's in Scranton.
Stanton. Is it Scranton?
No, it's Scranton. It's Joe Biden's little piece of shit fucking little town.
Scranton. Oh, that's right. Right. I was thinking of the one where Jim went to the other office after.
Oh, yeah, for a
what
minute.
was that one?
I forget.
I
but-
can't remember either.
Right. Well, anyway, the guy was like,
Office.
hey, dude, we've been talking all these years. How can we figure out what's real and what's not? Well, guess what? I got it. It's called watermarking. They're like, what? What's watermarking? Well, let me show you.
Well, they knew what watermarking is. These guys just claim to have a new method of doing it.
Right. Eliot Ness was offered the job because of his expertise in law enforcement and moved from Cleveland to Coudersport, Pennsylvania, where much of the investment capital for the company was located. So he basically went to headquarters.
Okay, but still bounce around town from town. That's not good for
And
him.
still getting great jobs, though.
I mean, not so great that he's now drinking more heavily, and he's spent some free time in a local bar telling stories of his law enforcement career while in Coudersport, Pennsylvania.
Guess who I took down, motherfuckers?
Well,
you wouldn't believe.
Unfortunately,
You won't even
right.
believe.
He's like, hey,
You won't even
Hey.
believe who I took down.
no.
You fucking sit here.
Don't you fucking sit there and say that. I fucking took out Al Capone.
And they're like, you
I
took
fucking
down.
took him down.
You took it. Drink another one. Drink another one.
Right, you know
Fucking-
it. I
Fucking did.
I guarantee
Right.
he was sitting at the bar fucking doing that same exact stuff.
Everybody's
No,
laughing at
fuck
him.
you. I fucking took him down, I did.
I was the highest decorated officer at that point in time in Chicago.
Well, unfortunately for him, though, his life's about to spiral even more because Guaranteed Paper began to fall apart when it became clear that one of Ness's business partners had misrepresented the nature of their supposedly proprietary watermarking process, leaving Ness in serious financial jeopardy.
Oh,
So
no.
not basically, these guys said they had a new way of watermarking legal documents, which turned out to be totally false, and
They
it wasn't a
didn't.
new way,
They
and it was
didn't.
probably less successful
Right.
and less
Right.
secure as the other way that people had been doing
Right. It didn't work out.
it. Yeah, I
That
mean,
sucks.
it sucks for you, Elliot.
1931, a member of Al Capone's gang promised Eliot Ness that two $1,000
We're going
notes.
back a little bit now.
Right. That two $1,000 notes equivalent today as $17,018.
Also, back when they actually had $1,000 bills.
Right. And he said these two notes would be on his desk every Monday morning if he turned a blind eye to the bootlegging activity. So he said, I'm telling you, I'm giving you $2,000 a week. Do what you do anywhere else, but just leave me alone.
Which could have set Ness up
For
for life,
Right.
literally.
Right. Eliot Ness, being the man that he is, and thinking of his predecessor, not his predecessor, his
Successors, maybe. Thinking of his what?
the
His,
guy-
mentor?
what's his name? Yeah, his mentor. What's his name?
Vollmer.
Vollmer. He's like, no,
He's like, I will
I will
bring
I will
prestige.
refuse these bribes, and years later, I will struggle financially.
I will bring prestige and honor to this badge. I will
Right.
not accept your bribes.
Right, and he didn't, and his he was right. Years later, he struggled financially.
If only he would have took those $2,000 notes.
He was near penniless at the time of his death. With his role in bringing down the greatest freaking bootlegger of all time, Al Capone, having been largely forgotten.
Mm-hmm.
His heroic reputation underwent a resurgence with the posthumous publication of the 1957
That's my point.
book.
These guys always...
Right.
People forget. I mean, he did turn into a freaking town. We'll discuss that later. Yeah.
Well, anyway, 1957 book that came out that he co-written with Oscar Fraley. And the 1959 and 1993 TV...
Today,
Junior! Stuttering Stanley! Stuttering Stanley! The 1959 and 1993 television series, and the 1987 film, and related media adapted from it.
Shortly after his approval of the final galleys for the Untouchables, Ness collapsed and died at his home in Coudersport, Pennsylvania, of a heart attack on May 16, 1957.
Ain't that some shit?
The poor fellow was only 54 years of age. Undoubtedly, the heavy drinking of whiskey and God knows what else he was putting in his body was took the toll on him. 54 years old. Wow. His body was cremated, and his ashes were scattered in one of the small ponds on the grounds of Lakeview Cemetery in Cleveland.
Okay.
An admirer later donated a plot near the pond and erected a cenotaph, which is a big-ass gravestone, pretty much, in his honor there. Ness was survived by his widow, Elizabeth Anderson Seaver, and adopted son, Robert.
That's fantastic. It's great stuff. Eliot Ness collaborated with Oscar Fraley in writing the book The Untouchables, which we just said, which was released in 1957, which also we just said, after Eliot died.
Right.
The book went on to sell 1.5 million copies.
Damn.
And inspired many TV shows and movies.
Sure did, which we just said.
Most notably, the 1959 TV series. We just said all this garbage. No!
Yes, we did. But it's a little more, because the 1959 TV series, The Untouchables, was starring Robert Stack. You know who Robert Stack is?
Right. And
who's Robert Stack?
1987 film, The Untouchables, starring Kevin Costner.
Who's Robert Stack?
As Eliot Ness, and Robert De Niro as Al Capone.
Who's Robert Stack?
Robert Stack, he did the fucking, the one series. He did the one series.
Which one? What is the one series?
It was it was after this, wasn't it?
Robert Stack is the unsolved mystery guy.
Yeah. No.
Later in the night, when they came over there, suspects are still looking for him, and he's still on the run, be armed and dangerous.
The voice?
No, Robert Stack, the guy that presents the original Unsolved Mysteries.
John Walsh.
No, that's America's Most Wanted.
It is, right?
Yeah, Robert Stack is Unsolved Mysteries' original host guy.
Is he?
Yeah.
He did another one, though,
Dude,
after this.
Robert Stack, back in the day, in the 50s and 60s, he was nominated for awards. He was in a whole bunch of shit.
Yeah, but he was in another one before Unsolved Mysteries that I was thinking about.
I don't think it was.
Yeah.
Coudersport, Pennsylvania, the town where Ness spent his final months and died, has held an annual Eliot Ness Festival every third weekend in July since 2018. Well, that's not that long. What took him so long to do that? Past events have included a public reunion of people descended from the original Untouchables, a dramatization of Al Capone's trial, film screenings, author talks, and antique car shows. In 2019, an Eliot Ness Museum inspired by the annual festival opened in downtown Coudersport, featuring several antique cars and exhibit during Ness's life and career. And as far as we know, that's the only town that is what's the word? Is memorializing Eliot Ness to this day.
Right.
Which is kind of sad, which brings me back to my point at the beginning. This guy in the 30s, yeah, he was popular at the time with the Untouchables and all that stuff, but as soon as Prohibition ended, he moved on to do all this other stuff in Cleveland and all this other stuff, and then slowly but surely drank himself. It was probably an asshole in public every time he got drunk, was probably talking shit to people and just a town drunk. But happened to hold a badge and, overlooked the police and fire or whatever.
Right.
All that. The more you do that kind of stuff, Al Capone, this is 20 years later now. Nobody cares about Al Capone no more. So guess what? Your little legacy of the one time you did something good, it's only going to get you so far in life.
Right. All right.
What a sad story.
Sad.
Did you know any of this about Eliot Ness besides Al Capone stuff?
Only knew the Al Capone stuff. That was it.
I only knew the Al Capone stuff too before I looked it up, and then when I
crazy.
Right, when I read what happened in his later years and the way he died, penniless and alone, and not alone. I guess he had a wife and a stepson, but did they love him?
Right.
I mean, come on. At this point, you got to wonder.
He was a drunken mess.
Right,
he was a drunken mess.
Probably
angry, probably. Drunk, angry.
Probably still angry at the way
Right.
he brought down Al Capone, but
He didn't.
On record it shows that the Robert Frank guy or whatever
Right.
the guy's name is, and the Wilson guy got it because it was a tax evasion and not the prohibition charges that
he was
took
a
him
fraud,
down.
right? He's a fraud. I
Right.
didn't do any of this. Yeah, I get it.
54 years old, dies of a heart attack from drinking himself to death.
too
Pretty much
much.
is what happened there.
Too much for him, man.
Like I said at the
Sad
beginning,
stuff.
this ended just exactly how 18 out of our 19 Wild West episodes. This is straight from our Wild West. This could be
Wild
transported
West.
right into our Wild West
Wow.
episodes. But even
Wow.
well, I can't say Capone because Capone died rich
Wow,
in his
wow,
mansion. He might have
He
been fucked up in the brain from his disease, but he was rich.
Right, but
Lucky
he wasn't-
Luciano still had money so
Yeah,
far.
true.
Bugsy
True.
Siegel, he was still running the casino before he got killed through the window.
Yeah. What are you gonna do with
Everybody else in the Prohibition area besides Eliot Ness, they all went out on top pretty much.
that? Right.
It's crazy.
Well, he's a policeman. That's what happens with policemen. They throw you off to the side when they're done.
Right, like I said, it's the stereotypical 1950s drunken policeman that
Right.
did something good
Turned-
20 years
turned-
ago and
Turned
then
PI.
right. Did something good 20 years ago and can't or something
Right.
messed up in his he messed up a case 20 years ago and he's still,
Right.
that sent him into a
Right.
whirlwind,
there's
alcoholic.
millions of movies
whatever.
about it.
Right.
Millions of movies about
Right.
it.
That's going to do it for Eliot Ness Eliot Ness next week. Not really sure what we're going to do at the moment. I think we realistically only have about 2 or maybe 3, if we're lucky, Prohibition-centric
Maybe.
episodes left. And then we'll get into the likes
I mean,
of Bonnie and Clyde,
it's still gonna be
Dillinger,
Prohibition era.
Babyface, Nelson. I mean, era, but bank robbers and all that.
Right.
We're, there's other outlaws out there, bud, besides just Prohibition.
I told you that, you jackass.
Right. Okay, but we're focused on Prohibition right now, jackass.
Prohibition era.
No, Prohibition crimes. And we're still in the Prohibition era, but we're
Right.
focused on Prohibition crimes.
Crimes.
There is a couple more. We'll probably, I think next week we'll do another Lawman episode, but there'll be 2 of them mixed in because they're pretty short stories on what we know about both of them, but they're pretty famous in the early years of Prohibition.
Right.
And then I think we could probably squeeze out one more of a famous rum runner. Other than that, I mean, there's not too much.
What you can do,
There's
man?
just not too much info on the lesser famous
Right.
people to make a 45-minute episode out of. So, yeah, and then we'll get started on Bonnie and Clyde, John Dillinger, Babyface Nelson, all those 1930s, 40s Depression era bank robbers / criminals. So that's where we're at now. Go check out
True.
The Mouthy Michiganders, our other podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. The Mouthy Michiganders. Right now, we're just putting out the best of Bang and Dang, we call it right now, until we figure out what we want to do. We might rebrand and redo some stuff there, but we have almost 300 episodes of backlog, so go check us out over there. And like we mentioned earlier, if you're into improv comedy type stories or back and forth improv stuff, we got a special investigator series, Lee Danker, correspondent, Lee and
Right.
Corey on the case, where we go and investigate crazy cases and
Stupid
you have
shit.
to you have to hear it to believe it. So go check out Lee and
Right.
Corey on the case wherever you get your podcast once again, and we'll be back next week for, I guess you have to tune in then, where the Mouthy Michiganders with.
You know who we are.